Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Insightful Moments. My name is Jare Tiamiyu. We are going to be discussing something different. The last time we talked about politics, and then this time we'll try to sit attention a bit and discuss economy. And today we'll be digging deep into the economic prosperity of Nigeria. Where did we get it wrong? And where are we now? What should we start doing in order to move forward? And also, the issue of deregulation, fuel subsidy and all that, what it means. Recently, the President Muhammadu Buhari administration actually said that they are not going to kickstart that issue of first subsidy removal again, that they will wait for some, maybe 18 months according to him. Maybe by then, he will not be the president again. We'll be discussing what are the solutions that we should find. What will be this lasting solution if we say that the fuel subsidy should be removed? Then, if the price at the international market actually goes up, are we saying that Nigeria will continue to monitor that, to follow that? Whatever happens there is what will affect all Nigerians. And also, we'll ask questions about where we were, where we are, and where we should be. And my guest today shall be a professor of economics from University of Lagos, Professor Olufemi Saibu. We'll be discussing this matter together, and then we'll be getting senses out of all these issues that are actually affecting our economic prosperity in the country. Please stay tuned. I'll be right back as we move to the other side of the studio. My name is Jare Tiamiyu. Welcome back from our very short break. My guest is here, and as I said, we are going to be discussing economy, and then how can we move from where we are to where we should be economically in the country. We all know that it is not smiling. We know what is happening here and there. But my guest here is a professor of economics from University of Lagos, University of Choice, Professor Olufemi Saibu. Professor, thank you for joining us, sir.
Yeah, thank you for giving this opportunity to contribute to the current debate about the Nigerian economy.
Prof, sir, let's start from this. Let me start from here. This textbook, your inaugural lecture, you titled it Rethinking Development Process in Nigeria, a choice between Lamborghini and Àjàgbé-Ejò. I would like you to actually briefly explain the choice of this topic, what informed it, and then how do you think it's relevant to the Nigerian economy of today?
Well, as a young inquisitive scholar, an economist in particular, who graduated from Olufemi University, that make us to want to deeper into understanding the issues further. I look at my history, how I grew up, and also how I got educated, and the challenges I faced before I got where I am. And I look at it, I said, what actually defined where I am today? And I realized that if not because of the privilege I enjoy, by some people who believed that at times quantity at times could be more relevant at the time than quality, possibly I would not be here. So and I said that what is the problem with Nigeria? The problem with Nigeria is that we tend to copy, tend to imitate, and then again to believe that what we have is inferior to what others have, especially when those things we are looking at are from perceived developed countries. So, and I look at Nigerian economic policies in general, and again, how it has been implemented. I discovered that in many occasions, many of the policies we implement in Nigeria, either introduced by World Bank, IMF, or all other international agencies and partners as well. I believe that the background information and basis upon which those policies and theories were developed were not at all related to our reality in this country. They were not based on statistics, experience, and cultural situation in our country. And hence, when those policies again are brought to Nigeria, we find it difficult to implement them. We find it difficult as well to even understand how the policies were developed. So when there are problems with those policies as well, we find it difficult to be able to do necessary corrections. And I now relate that to the substituted vehicles we know car, which is Lamborghini. That when you buy those cars by Nigerian as well, all you know about it is the remote key you have and how to drive. Even if ordinary tire got deflated, you need to call the manufacturer, call the specialist at this. You cannot remove yourself. You have to go and read the manual as written as well. Despite you use the money, you discover that all you own in that vehicle is to drive. And most cases as well, it takes you so much time, money to be able to even change ordinary tire for that kind of vehicles. And I liken that to many of our policies, whether it's structural adjustment program, whether it's Vision 2020, whether even the current national development plan that we have for the country, that mostly they are developed for us, given to us to operate. So anytime we have problem, we cannot solve the problem. And I said, what will it cost us as in Nigeria to look at our problem by ourselves, identify the problem with these problems, what are the solutions as well, and allow indigenous people who understand the indigenous situation we find ourselves to come up with policies and programs that can address those problems we identify ourselves, develop the model, theories, and principles that are indigenous to us and from us, and then come up with the policies and programs that can address that problem. When we implement those problems, when it's not working, we understand where the problem is, we address it. Number two is that even if it is not as good as we want it, as we are now identifying the problem, we improve on it. And I liken that one to Àjàgbé-Ejò. What is Àjàgbé-Ejò as we know it? Is all those Àjàgbé-Ejò vehicles that we have. When we are buying those vehicles, I remember in those 80s and 70s when those vehicles down, they will buy Bedford, which the only thing you have there is the windscreen. The seat will be built by Nigerians. The body will be built by Nigerians. You can turn it to maybe a bus, could be the one that will be for haulage, could be for passengers as well. So when those vehicles are used, when they got spoiled on the road, the other drivers will stay, they will repair it. When the part of it is spoiled, they will take it to the iron fabricators, they fabricate the part for you, and the vehicle move as well. Convey so many people at the same time, cheaper to run, we own it as well. And gradually we discover that if that has been allowed to be, today, maybe we'll also be a car producers in the world as well today. But because we tend to wait and then import from other countries, that's why today the whole country, in terms of vehicle as well, we are now known to be, maybe we buy fairly used as new car and we celebrate it because we not develop our own. Even those ones as well, we have problems. Look at all our roads. What do you see by the roadside? Spoil, abandoned vehicles because we cannot maintain them. So the same that applies to policy as well. Look at all the chefs of government. Any state at levels now, go to the ministers now. You see many concepts, many policies they spend billions of naira to get them developed for us. They cannot implement because they are not built internally. So my argument is that no matter how crude local policy and program will be, and no matter how at least we may not be able to meet international standards, that we have to start somewhere by ourselves and that informs the topic and then the framing.
Do you think Nigeria needs to remove that free subsidy in order for us to have economic prosperity?
Well, from my own perspective, we need to address the cause of the problem, not the symptom. The problem we have in this country is not that 162 naira per liter is below what it's supposed to be for Nigeria. We produce this oil, and this is the crude part of it. We have the potential and capacity and the human power and everything to refine this oil locally. And we already, every year, government invests heavily on refineries, at least 4 of them, that remain moribund. And that's exactly the problem I'm raising now. Why are the refineries not working? Because they were Lamborghini projects then. They were conceived, they were implemented, they were run by foreigners who, after the expiration of the agreement with the government, they left. And therefore, the agreement to maintain it, they couldn't continue, and therefore, no local individuals, engineers, and co. cannot take over the repairs, and therefore become abandoned, and we have to import at least what we have in excess from this as well. So I think rather than maybe just responding and reacting to the situation, why can't you take time and solve the problem? What is the problem? Is for us to refine at least 90% of the oil we consume in Nigeria locally. If we do that, we may be paying less than 160 per liter. So if we increase from 162 now to maybe 300, how will that solve the problem of shortage in supply? Tomorrow, if there's not increase in global oil price, to maybe now our exchange rate now become 1,000 naira to $1 as well. So we again will increase further as well when will that increment stop. So I think the problem is not about the regulation, it's about supply capacity. And until we solve that problem, we should not again add to the burdens of people currently now. People must have something to benefit from government. People provide security for themselves. If at times in some areas, they construct their roads. The water now is provided by themselves. Earthwise, they do it themselves. And even security as well. So what else are people gain from the government? If at the end of the day, mere ensuring that people get fair price for basic property goods as well as it is, then people have to pay from their means. I think for now, I see the regulation, whether in terms of exchange rate and then fuel as well, is trying to implement Lamborghini policy in our Àjàgbé-Ejò economy, and it will not work.
But sir, there is this thing that the federal government is saying. They say that we're looking at the percentage of people that are using the fuel that are benefiting from the subsidy is low. They said, in fact, there was a time by spokesperson of the presidency, Femi Adesina, said it's about 10% that we cannot continue using the money belonging to the cattle rearers, the farmers, to service those that are using vehicle here and there. When you think, what about that kind of argument?
I think that argument is one-sided. It's just to be able to make a case for the regulation. The question I will ask is this: do they know actually how much in real terms, how much oil is actually imported in real terms, and how much of them actually stay within the country? 2, have they been able to resolve the issues of institutional challenges we face, that leakages? If we block all the leakages in the import, invoicing, distribution as well, possibly the amount of attributed to Nigeria consumption may fall. And then again, we reduce that. That's in part of institutional challenges we face as well. Whether it's corruption, whether it's whatever they call it as well, but I know that there are challenges and they are aware of that. Secondly, do you understand the spiral effect of this? Even before they introduce, because they just say they're going to deregulate, all prices across board are already responding. So increase in fuel price is not about maybe the number of people who are consuming fuel now. Is the effects, the spillover effect in other sectors as well. The house strength will change, everything will change, cost everything will change as well. And therefore, fuel price is no more ordinary products price. Is becoming a connector of everything that people used to benchmark every price, not like exchange rate. So government cannot use that basis to determine, therefore, because a few people are consuming it. The question is this: why can't we address the problem from supply side by looking at how to increase domestic supply of fuel? If they increase domestic supply, everybody understands the price will fall. Let us then leave demand and address the supply. Since they have control over the supply, they don't have control over demand.
Prof, sir, we'll go on a very short break now. Okay. But when we are back, we'll be discussing what I call the issue of the Dangote refinery, and also we'll be talking about some other policies. We know that we have a lot of issues with the exchange rates and some others. We'll go on a very short break now. When we are back, we'll continue discussion with Professor Olufemi Saibu.
Education is the power. Education is the key.
Education is key. Education is light. Education is power. However, quality education is what can unlock potentials, eliminate ignorance, and fight illiteracy. Finding this type of quality education is becoming a challenge, but I have found a school where quality education abounds. Ibadulai Nursery and Primary School and Ibadulai Caliphate College, Ilobu. At Ibadulai schools, they combine both Western and Islamic education. Their classrooms are conducive with fully equipped laboratories, ICT center, and library. The school is blessed with caring and quality teachers who make school environments comfortable for pupils and students. Ibadulai Group of School is located at Atoyebi Estate, Konda area, Ilobu, Osun State. Telephone 0803 501 2533 or 0706 225-8520. At Ibadulai Group of School, quality education is our watchword.
Welcome back from that very short break. My guest is still here, and we are discussing the economy in the country. What is really happening in the economic sector? And my guest is Professor Olufemi Saibu. Prof, sir, thank you for staying with us.
Thank you.
Sir, when you talk about something the other time, you talk about refineries, that we need the refineries to be working. But some people will say that by the end of this year, Dangote's refinery will start working, and then the federal government is saying they have some shares in that. Don't you think that will be a very good step for moving forward?
Well, if by the record, the federal government has around 20 or so percent in that refinery, but one thing I want us to get clearer,
okay,
Dangote refinery is not federal government refinery. Dangote refinery is an international company owned by several international bodies together collaborating with Dangote that is only located in Nigeria, not owned by Nigeria. Though the promoter is a Nigerian. So we should not expect a Dangote refinery to be Port Harcourt refinery or to be Mosimi or whatever other refineries we have in Nigeria or Kaduna refinery. No. It's only located in Nigeria strategically because the owners feel that we, as main promoter, I want to be my country so that my country can have other advantages. For instance, well, majority of people that are going to be employed at certain level very soon will be Nigeria as well. Number two, it's easier for Nigeria to negotiate with them to get at least some certain incentives in terms of easy supply. Number two, Nigeria to get a refined one, they won't have to travel through the seas before they can get it across Nigeria. So yes, the refinery going to at least increase at least access of Nigerian government into international refined oil market. It is international because it is not only supplying Nigeria, it's connected to almost to global market. So Nigeria is going to be buying from Dangote refinery the way they are buying from other sources now. Not that they will get it at a cheaper price. So we need to get that clearer. But what are the advantages? Number one, like I said, because it's in Nigeria, then at least the transport cost will be reduced. Number two is that it is easier to negotiate with the owners in terms of some other logistic challenges that may have in terms of getting there as well. So many people have been given licenses before, they were scared in going to it because of the huge investment involved. Now they've seen an example that's going to be successful. Maybe that we encourage them to be able to say, okay, well, if Dangote can do it successfully, so we can also use this model as well to do our own. And that will give us opportunities to have alternatives to federal government source.
Prof, sir, I would like us to look at something. There is a question that I would like to ask you now. There is this general belief that people born between 1950 and 1970, they actually met a flourishing economy in the country. But when it was their time to actually make it better, it collapsed. Do you believe in that? Or where do you think we got it wrong?
Well, to me, I can agree with those people if I happen to live in the cities then. But I was born in the village in the 70s. I live in a village. What do we enjoy in the village in the 60s, in the 70s when I was young? Things were poor, were bad, we suffered, we don't have electricity. I didn't see televisions in the 70s. So as well, what do we have? There's no hospital, there's nothing. So what do you think they want to say, I enjoy the village? Only few people who live in major cities then, I enjoy it.
But you had better education compared to what you have today.
No, that's to me, and I want to surprise you, the quality of education is better than them.
No, when we talk of costs, when you talk about the quality of education, we know that then we had people from 5 who are actually doing well teaching, but you can see that even secondary school students live now, they hardly find it difficult to teach the primary schools.
Very good. During this period, today, we can have a secondary school guys now who can set a company down up and run it very well. Then what were we being taught? We were being taught grammar. We were taught, that's why we could produce at least a Nobel Laurel in literature, but not in science. Because then the focus of education in the 70s, in the 50s, 60s as well, like I said in my inaugural lecture, was just to train us how to communicate in English language. so that we can assist our colonial master to be able to fast track their communication.
But then when you were
look
leaving
at
school,
look at the University of Ibadan that was visiting, you see the much of people who graduate from that period, they do classic, linguistics, and co and law. So then attention was focused on things that will help us to be more, at least, efficient in administration, but not in science and technology. So, and look at the syllabus then. Emphasis was so much on literary education and not. Today, a nursery and primary school student know much of science now than what those who were that age were in the 70s.
But the education now is costly compared to what we had then. We all know that then you had it virtually for free. But you know that a student at nursery school today, we have hundreds of thousands as school fees, exam fee, all those fees that the school are charging now.
Yes, that's what I was saying. There are some things that are public goods that are things that maybe it's not only the beneficiary that benefit from it. And I thank God that I was very fortunate to be among those people who benefited free education in Nigeria. And that's what I said in my subject as well, that if not because of people like Bola Jakande, who believe in Awolowo philosophy of education, that provided the free education. I started primary schools because of free education that was started. In my primary school, I was already the first set of who attended primary schools in the village now in Oyo State, Ogbada Baptist Primary School. So started as well now. Unfortunately, we don't pay anything. And two, when I got to secondary school, when I was in secondary schools in Lagos State as well, in ECU, it's a grammar school, I was the third set as well. The school was started in 1980 when UPN again won, and they started this putting like a co. So what we are saying is that we should not turn education to private goods. It should be public goods. Because imagine if I did not do that, I did not have that privilege given to me just now, the number of people I've impacted. The one day that I will never forget in my life that still continue to influence me is the day I stood in front of law students as well as medicine students OU to teach them SS 102, which is economics. And the people in my class are people I knew they are from where to do with them. I said, oh, so somebody who graduated from Ogbada, a village, remote village university, can come to OAU to come and lecture people who finished from Corolla and Loyola as well at universities, and I'm the one determining their fate. Education, to me, should be free at all levels. But conditions to have access to it could be stringent. So that those who do not require education at a certain level, apart from basic needs, need not to go to school. In the US or in other countries as well now, going to university is luxury because you don't need university education to function very, very well in the system. You don't need education to work anywhere in that place. You have the basic education, then you can now go and pick your skill, your career, your profession. If you not get to the career or professional, then you now decide whether you need additional knowledge, another skill, and could do that. Here in Nigeria, now we take everything to be there. So as long as one, we are making it difficult for people to have access to education, the private sector will go into that area and make it difficult for the public people to have it.
Prof, sir, before we round out this conversation, now I still have two questions to ask you. Number one is, I will ask you point blank. Where and when did you think we got it wrong economically?
We got it wrong almost from beginning.
Like when? Like
from the time we got independence. Okay. When we feel that all we need to do is to duplicate the British system, duplicate American system, and rather than looking at it, what is, who are we, and where are we good, and what's our need, and then deploy our local resources to address our local challenges.
What sector do you think we need to actually work upon? Maybe where we have untapped prosperity moving forward?
So in economics, we call it the big push sector, the sector that can help. As such today, if you can solve the problem of power, electricity, Nigeria, it will change everything in this country. Because there's no country ever developed with a stable electricity supply. when we have that, Nigeria are ingenious, they're entrepreneurial, they are hardworking, they can take challenges. Leave the rest to the private sector. Let government solve the growing electricity. The private sector will take the economy from there to the level we are. But if we do not address that, there's no other things we can address that can solve the problem. So it's still power sector, electricity in particular.
Thank you, and I believe that we will still have time to speak with you as we move on, because our economic issue is actually the developmental issue. We'll continue to have reasons to discuss it. We'll also continue to have reason to call you to speak to us. We know you are not very near to us, but we can still continue speaking on phone. That is how far we can go with Professor Olufemi Saibu, Professor of Economics from University of Lagos, Lagos State. And on that note, I say join me on the other side. If you want to get it right, we have to adopt the Àjàgbé-Ejò model, and that is what Professor Olufemi Saibu said. He said the issue of the Lamborghini policy is something that will just comfort the little and leave the larger percentage at the mercy of others. But the Yoruba adage will say, "Ọmọ tá bá kọ́ lónìí ni ó gbélé tá bá kọ́ tà lọ́la." Which means the child that we refuse to build today will sell the houses that we are building. And that is exactly what Professor said. He also said that, the issue of deregulation, we don't go towards that route, because he doesn't believe that if we go towards that route, we are going to have economic prosperity as we actually want it. And that is how far we can go in today's episode. Thank you for being part of it. Believe me, we'll be discussing with Professor some other times when we have issues, and then he has actually said he will be granting us that audience. We appreciate that. So some other time when we come your way again, remain blessed. My name is Jare Tiamiyu. Bye bye.